All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. Hopefully, you had a good break, at least got some rest, right? So, here's the thing this is the first lesson of the new semester. All right, so let's get this one done and let's get this new semester started off on the right foot. All right, now, here's the thing. Excuse me. The objective today, we're going to analyze the meaning of the 14th Amendment. We're going to examine the effectiveness and the meaning behind the Freedmen's Bureau, and we're going to create an argument on the legitimacy of Southerners taking a loyalty oath. Okay, so if you forgot where we left off last time we had class, which was uh, back in the early parts of December, Lincoln was just assassinated. Right, Civil War is basically over. The Lincoln's assassinated. John Wilkes Booth, the guy who shot Lincoln, is captured and killed. The co-conspirators of Abraham Lincoln are captured and they go to trial, and some of them are executed. Okay, so that's where we're at now. Okay, but here's the problem. This is the big thing about the Civil War. It was about to free the slaves, yes, but now comes the big question. You have 3 million newly freed slaves. What do you do? Because you have to remember, these guys had nothing. Nothing. Technically, the clothes on their backs belonged to their slave owners. They had no property, no education. Because remember, it was illegal for them to learn anything, you know. So what do they do? The only job they know how to do is work uh, and farming. That's about it. Be servants and things like that. That's basically it. For a lot of them. So what do they do from here on out? That's the big question now. Okay. So speaking of Lincoln's conspirators, the people who were trying to kill the Vice President Johnson, Secretary of State Seward, General Grant, these are the people hung. Now, like I said in class, if you notice that first person, the one to the far left, you might notice something different about that person compared to the other three people. And the thing is, if you notice, you have a good eye, that's a woman. Her name is Mary Surratt. She is the first woman executed by the US government. Okay. Now, I had some students in class who were like, "Oh, the government killed the woman?" Yeah. Because the thing is, yeah, she wasn't part of the group. She wasn't part of that night of people going with a gun or a knife to kill somebody. But the thing is, these conspirators met at her place. Her son was one of the conspirators. She knew what was going to happen, what they were planning to do, and did nothing, warned nobody. So, to the prosecutors, she's just as guilty as any of them because she knew about it, knew what they were planning to do, and did nothing. Okay. So, I just wanted to show you guys that. And again, a little history tidbit. Okay. Now, here is your warm up picture. Okay. Now, if you notice on your worksheet, right below this picture, it says President Johnson, before he was president, he was a tailor. Okay. Now, some of you guys may or may not know what a tailor is. A tailor is somebody who like custom fits clothing. Okay. If you have loose clothing, they know how to fold it up, and if your pants are way too long, they know how to cuff them and sew them up and things like that. They're really good at that type of stuff, measuring people and things like that. So my question is this to you: what is this author or this artist hoping that President Johnson will do? Okay. Now, student asked me in class too, what is Lincoln doing? Because here's the thing: typically, when something is heavy, you need something to brace it up. You know, so to brace it, pick it up a little bit, things like that. That's what Lincoln's doing. Okay. Now, knowing what a tailor does, do you think that guy Johnson, the artist, trying to hope that he's putting things together or separating it? Okay, so again, think about what a tailor does and answer the question. If you put something to the effect of, I see a guy on a globe, I see a guy with a stick, you're not going to get any points for this. Okay, because you have to answer the question I'm asking, which is, what is this artist hoping that President Johnson will be doing? Okay, now if you have trouble with this warm up, come see me when you turn this in. Okay, and I'll probably try to explain it better. Okay, but do not put things like I see this, I see that. That's not what I'm asking. I don't want you losing points. Okay, so pause the video, write your response because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right, so anytime in any part of the world where there's a war going on and the war's over and the people need to rebuild, that's known as a Reconstruction era or Reconstruction time. Reconstruction is a rebuilding of a nation after a war. It doesn't matter which nation. It could be ours, it could be France, Britain, Germany, Japan. Soon as this war finishes up between Russia and Ukraine, Ukraine will more likely go into a reconstruction era because a lot of their big towns have been destroyed. Okay, so they're rebuilding. Okay, now April 15th, 1865, the day Lincoln was shot and killed. Oh, sorry, the day he died. Vice President Johnson is sworn in as president. He's the first president to take over an assassinated president. Okay, so he's the first person to take over for a president that was purposely killed. Okay, um, here's the other thing too that I got asked quite a bit from some of my students. When a president dies, how long do they have to swear in the vice president? You know, well, the thing is, the Constitution doesn't say, "Oh, you have an hour to swear in the president, the vice president." No, it's basically like the sooner the better. Okay, because they have to have a federal judge swear in the vice president. Okay, they can't just be, "Oh, you're president." No, they have to take the oath. Same thing, um, and they need a federal judge to swear in the president, the vice president, I should say, into becoming president. Okay, so but again, the Constitution doesn't say a set amount of hours or days or whatever. It's just the sooner the better, as soon as you can. Okay, now the newly freed slaves were known as freedmen. Okay, now like I said at the very, very beginning, you have so many millions of people who were slaves, now they're free. What do they do? How do you help them? There's so many. This is where the government created a little department called the Freedmen Bureau. Okay, it's a program to feed and clothe the refugees in the South using army supplies. Okay, so basically, these guys had like extra clothing, food, things like that, and they basically helped the newly freed slaves. Now, about every day, there'd be about 300,000 that they would help all throughout the South. Okay. Now, a student last year asked me, wait, if they're helping millions of people, how come they're only helping 300,000 a day? Well, here's the thing you got to remember. Not everyone lived in a town, right next to where a Freedmen Bureau was set up. So let's say they were in Atlanta, Georgia. Some people lived, 100 miles away, 150 miles away, and that was the closest one to them. So they would have to walk. Maybe they were lucky they could catch a ride on a wagon, but a lot of times they didn't. So they would have to walk to get that help. So it wasn't like just said, oh, every day only 300,000. That's it. No, it's just that's how much on average it was per day. Because again, every day there'd be more people coming in needing clothing, needing food, needing assistance. Now, here's the thing too. Um, like I said, a lot of these newly freed slaves, they didn't know what else to do. besides working the fields. So they try to get jobs at the plantations. Some plantation where they knew, like, hey, maybe I can get a job here. Now, the thing is, those plantation owners would tell these newly freed slaves, "Oh, we'll pay you. Let's just say let's use our money nowadays, right? They would say, we'll pay you $5." Now, to these newly freed slaves, oh, $5, that's a lot. Oh my gosh. Remember, they never had money. They don't know how much people get paid an hour and things like that. So they're like, oh my God, wow, $5. So the Freedmen Bureau would step in and go, no, 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 no. Like, the minimum you could pay people is like $15. So why are you paying them five? So the government would step in and make sure that these people, the newly freed slaves, that they got their contracts were legit, that they were fair, you know, and that they wouldn't be cheated. Okay. Now, as you can see from that top picture as well, uh, sometimes there were scuffles between the whites and the blacks. So they would come in and settle disputes, you know. And if let's say the white people got angry, like, oh, no, no, we don't like what you're saying, to the government, we're going to come and attack you. There's a ton of soldiers who are ready to fight, So, yeah, so it wasn't wise. So, again, the Freedmen Bureau is there to help the newly freed slaves. Now, here's the thing, there were some Northerners who had this idea, and they felt, you know what? These newly freed slaves, they have nothing, but they should have something. Because you know what? They worked that land, never got paid, you know. So, what would really help them out is if we took that land from the plantation owners and gave it to those slaves, because they know that land better than the plantation owners. They worked that land for years. So they should get that land. And when they get that land, let's say they get 50 acres. Okay. Then with that much land, they could plant their own crops, build their own home on that property, and then grow their crops. And they could either keep it for themselves, sell it, and then they would make money. And then they could progress and get higher up and maybe buy more land, maybe move away from the South, maybe start a business or something. So there was a lot of Northerners who were like, yeah, yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. But then there were others who were like, yeah, that sounds great, right? But that's going to tick off a lot of white people because we're kicking them off their land. And then who are they going to get mad at? Who are they going to attack? The people in the North? Us? No. We're far away. They're going to attack the black people, the black families. They might set fire to their homes and their crops and things like that. And then what? You know? And also, it goes against one of our country's greatest rights, which is you have the right to own property. You have the right to own a piece of this country. You have the right to own a piece of property, call it your own, and do what you want with it without fearing, oh my God, the government's just going to take it for no reason. No, So that's why some people are like, I like the idea, but it's not going to work. You know. So now here's the thing too. On March 29th, 1865, President Johnson grants amnesty to all white Southerners who take an oath of loyalty to the Union. So he basically tells them, if you give this oath of loyalty, you say this pledge, you will be able to keep your land, your property, things like that, and you'll basically be forgiven of everything that you've done. Okay. So a lot of these white Southerners were like, so all we got to do is say these words, make this pledge, and we get to keep everything, and we're forgiven of all the stuff. Yeah. They're like, okay. Now, it's like I told the students in class. Um, if you've ever seen court, or you've been in court, and you see when people put their hand on the Bible, they raise their hand, say, "I solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, but nothing but the truth, so help me God." You know, and they say, "I do." That's the same type of pledge. You know, that's a pledge. Okay. Now here's the thing. Some people were really upset. Those people in those blue states you see on that map there, they were really upset because they were like, oh, "No, we should prosecute these guys. They fought against us. They lost. We should take all their land, their property, things like that. We should punish them." One of the biggest reasons why they didn't was because like a week before Lincoln died, he said, "When this war is completely over, we shouldn't be hanging people. We shouldn't be like, oh, let's punish these guys hard and take all their land and do all this stuff like they're saying." He said, "No, no, we need to embrace these guys. Let them know that yes, you fought against us, you lost, but here's the thing: we're all countrymen. We're all from the same country." Okay, so he wanted them to come back, join the union, and not fear that the government's gonna hang them and things like that. So that was one of the last wishes of Lincoln. So they kind of were like, "Oh, I guess Lincoln said that," you know. But the states were given a little bit more punishments. So all those red states you see on that map there, all of them had to have new governors. Okay, they couldn't have the old guys who were governors during the war or before the war. No, they had to get a new governor who basically said that slavery was wrong and what they did separating from the United States was wrong. You know, slavery in every one of those states had to end. They had to say, no more slavery, and they needed a new state constitution, which basically said again that slavery is wrong and separating from the United States was bad. Okay. Once they did that, then they were allowed back into the United States. Okay. Now, here's the thing. December 2nd, 1865, the state of Mississippi, which is very racist at this time in 1865, created a series of laws called the Black Codes. Now, the thing is, they were trying to find loopholes in the laws, and some of you guys may or may not know what loopholes are. It's basically like if your mom told you, "Hey, I don't want you going out tonight. Promise me you'll stay inside the house, you know, um, this tonight." And you go, "Okay, mom, yeah, I'll stay here till tonight." And as soon as 12:01 hits, you leave the house, and she's like, "Hey, you said you were gonna stay here tonight." Yeah, it's 12:01. It's the morning time, so technically it's a new day. It's the morning. So there's that loophole. Okay, you were home till 11:59 midnight, but once it's past midnight, 12:01, now it's the morning. It's a new day. So yeah, see, so that's a loophole. Okay, and that's what these guys basically did. They found a loophole called this thing called state rights, and basically they created laws that forbid African Americans from leaving their jobs. They had to pay rent to somebody, and they couldn't own land. Okay, so they're trying to make them slaves again without being slaves. They're trying to make sure that they're kept down here and not progressing and doing better in life. Now, the thing is, other states were looking at the federal government going, "Oh, what the federal government going to do to Mississippi? What are they going to do?" And like I said, technically they really couldn't do much because those were states' rights, state laws. So other southern states, as soon as Mississippi got away with this, they said, "Oh hell yeah, we're going to start doing it." So all those states you saw that were red in that last picture, they were like, "We're going to do the same thing." But then December 18th comes up and the 13th Amendment is ratified by the 27 states. The 13th Amendment says that slavery is done. It's over with, officially done with our country. The word slavery only appears one time in our Constitution, and that's on the 13th Amendment, where it says slavery is abolished, meaning it's done, it's over with. Okay. Now, the President Johnson, that on the picture, he's that white guy right there. Excuse me. He does something very kind of caught people off guard. Basically, what he did is he condemned several people in Congress. Most notably was the veteran representative Thaddeus Stevens. This guy spent like 20 some years of his life trying to free slaves. All right. In Congress, he fought and fought and fought for, I mean, again, over 20 years to free slaves. And finally, on December 18th, it's official. So imagine doing something for 25 years and all of a sudden, bam, what you've been fighting for gets accomplished. And then all of a sudden, the president says, "You're a traitor." Not only just him, but Senator Charles Sumner and this other guy who was a senator. His name is Wendell Phillips. Now, I didn't put senator there because at the time he lost his seat. So he wasn't a senator anymore. He was just a regular citizen. But the president, Johnson, basically said those guys, mainly those three guys, and other people, but mainly those three, were not only radicals, but they were traitors to this country. And these guys were like, us? Traitors? No, those people in the South, those are traitors. They fought against our country. We try to free people. How are we traitors? So again, this kind of makes some people go, what the hell's wrong with President Johnson there? What is he saying that for? And then he does something else. The Civil Rights Bill of 1866, it was a document that basically said that freed African Americans were going to be given citizenship because they were born in this country. And President Johnson vetoes it. Now, a veto is when the president says a law comes to his desk and he says, I don't like it. And he doesn't sign it. He basically says, takes it back to Congress, says, I don't like it. Okay. That's a veto. And that's what Johnson did. So this raised some people's eyebrows like, whoa, 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 what's going on here? What's up with this guy? Now, here's the thing. Just because the president vetoes something doesn't mean the bill is dead. Okay? Always remember this, guys. The president, yes, the president is powerful, but he's not all powerful. Okay? So when a president vetoes a bill, it goes back to Congress, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. And if they get 2/3 majority, meaning in each group, the House of Representatives and the Senate, if for every three people, two of them say yes on both houses, then that bill becomes law. The president doesn't get two vetoes. He can't say, oh, I veto it again. No, you've already done your veto. So Congress did the vote. They got the 2/3 or more, and now it's law. Okay. Now, although the president fought it, and many Southern representatives were fighting it, the 14th Amendment passed. Okay. The 14th Amendment basically says in the first section what it means to be a citizen in this country. Okay. And it basically says that if you're born in this country, you are a citizen. If you're born on American territory, land that belongs to America, you are an American. Okay. And this is the first time African Americans are declared citizens. Okay. So, what does it mean to become a citizen? What do you get? Well, basically, you get protection. You get your freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of peaceful assembly, freedom of from cops taking your property, without a probable cause or without a warrant, things like that. No cruel and unusual punishment, you know. So you get protection under the law, okay? And not just from the federal government, but state laws and local laws. So let's say you're walking down the street and you're just chit chatting with somebody. The local government can't arrest you because you're talking to somebody. They can't be like, "Oh, you can't say that. You can't say that." No, you have the right to say that. That's your freedom of speech. You could just be talking to somebody and they can't do something to you. Okay. Uh, this amendment, the 14th Amendment, also repealed the three-fifths clause, which was back like if in September we talked about this, which I doubt a lot of you guys remembered. It basically said that for every five slaves, they counted as three white people. Okay. This whole thing was about um, political power. Okay. Because in the House of Representatives, the more people you have, the more powerful your state is. Okay. So that did away with that. So now African Americans are counted as a whole person. Same thing as a white person. Okay. Um, Now, here's the big problem that popped up. Now that African Americans count as a whole person instead of three-fifths of a person, basically the southern states are going to get more power. And remember, those southern states are racist. And now they're going to get a lot more power. Okay. Now, keep that in the back of your mind because it's going to play a role later on. So here's my question to you. Do you think the Southerners took their oath of loyalty to the Union seriously? So when they said, they pledged saying, "I pledge to be a part of the Union. Uh, Slavery was wrong. Leaving the United States was horrible. It was a bad idea. It was stupid. Stuff like that." Do you think they really meant it when they said that oath, or do you think to them it was just like it's just words? You know, Basically, if I say these words, nothing bad's gonna happen to me. You know, what do you think? So again, the writing prompts on the bottom to help you out if you don't know how to start the sentence. I believe the Southerners did or didn't take their oath seriously because, and explain, why do you think they did take it seriously or why do you think they didn't take it seriously? Okay. So, once you've uh, answered this question, you're done with this lesson. Just double check to make sure your name is on the front. Okay. Last semester that was a big problem. A lot of people who watched the videos and uh, did the work, they forgot to put their name on it. And since it's not just one student turning in these packets, watching these videos, it's quite a bit. I can't tell who's who, so you didn't get the points. Okay, so double check. Take that 3 seconds to make sure your name is on the front page. Okay. But once you've done that, you're done. All right. So hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Um, so with that being said, guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.